You and I have both experienced that pain. You strive for your justice, and I strive for mine.
And what's going on, Read My Lips people? We are back. Back like we ain't never left, baby. So much. There's so much. I can't keep up. There's so much news going on. Okay. So, from what we understand, from what I've seen, Trump is catching a lot of heat right now because he pretty much argued and stormed out from a press conference after going toe-to-toe with a reporter. And that's been making headlines, different people saying, racist allegations against him and so forth. So I actually have footage from that transaction between Trump and the reporter when she was asking him questions. We're going to get into that, and then we're going to come back.
No, sir. You said it would disappear like a miracle. Yes. You said only 15 people have it, and it would go down close to zero. You did. You said chloroquine would treat it. No, you said we should try injecting disinfectant. You said anyone who needs a test can get one. You praised China for being transparent. You got rid of the pandemic response team. You ignored every warning throughout January and February.
Okay, so that's actually not the footage of Trump bumping heads with the reporter, but it was entertaining nonetheless, right? I actually do have that footage, and I have a lot to say about it. So let's watch the actual footage.
The U.S. is doing far better than any other country when it comes to testing.
Yes.
Why does that matter? Why is this a global competition to you if every day Americans are still losing their lives and we're still seeing more cases every day?
Well, they're losing their lives everywhere in the world, and maybe that's a question you should ask China. Don't ask me, ask China that question, okay? When you ask them that question, you may get a very unusual answer. Yes, behind you, please.
Sir, why are you saying that to me specifically?
I'm telling you, I'm not saying it specifically to anybody. I'm saying it to anybody that would ask a nasty question like that.
That's not a nasty
Please
question.
go ahead.
Why does it matter?
Okay, anybody else? Please, go ahead in the back, please.
I have two questions.
No, it's okay.
But you pointed to me. I have two questions, Mr. President.
Next, please.
But you called on me.
I did, and you didn't respond, and now I'm calling on
Sorry, I just
the young lady in the back, please.
I just wanted to let my colleague
Okay.
finish. But can I ask you
Ladies
a
and
question?
gentlemen, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, my thoughts. This is standard Trumpism. I mean, I've seen him both battle reporters and absolutely, shut them down. And I've also seen him do what he just did and cower away. I guess it's all depends on the mood he's in. But as far as the racism parts, because I believe he said something like, ask China. And she was like, why are you asking me that? Why are you asking me that? At one point, he's like, no, okay, next person, please go ahead. He points to the lady and she's like, okay, you know what? Never mind. Go ahead, next person. I'm like, what the hell? You pointed to her and asked her and told her it was fine. This dude's out of his mind. And then he's like, next, please. I'm fully expecting the next bus to pull up.
I'm sorry. Next.
Now, do I think it was a horrible question? No, I don't think it was a horrible question. It's raining over here. I don't know if you guys can hear the rain, but it's raining hard outside right now. So if you hear like a bunch of noise in the background, it's the rain. But the flip side, people have been saying is that was a horrible question. I don't think it was a horrible question. I don't think it was a great question either. Like this global competition question. We're going to be competitive in everything we do, even if it's making a vaccine or saving lives. It's always going to be competitiveness. That's just not going to go away. So I don't think it was the best question, but it wasn't a horrible question. As far as like the racism part, I don't know if he was being racist to her in particular because of her ethnicity. I honestly don't know. When I first watched that, and all the countless times after I watched it, I didn't get that feeling until people brought it up. I just thought he was being rude in general. But there was a scenario before, I think it was an African-American reporter, and she was saying something to Trump.
The fact that he flipped out here, and that everybody else, what everybody's focusing on is, hold on. He was screaming like, ask China, why don't you ask China about that? Basically saying like, well, China lies about, their number of cases and the number of tests and all that stuff. By the way, that's probably true. I think they do. I think a lot of countries are lying. There was a story earlier today that, like, Russia's massively undercounting their COVID deaths. And it's not just Russia, it's not just China, it's like everybody. I'm sure even we're way underneath what the real number is. But the fact that I know nothing about that that journalist asking the question, but the fact that she's like Asian American, he just thinks like, oh, Asian, China, Chinese, ask China. Why don't you go ask China? And so people were like, come on, man, that's a little questionable. That's a little, bigoted of you to just like make the connection. It's like when, and he's done this before with, there was a black reporter and she asked a question about like, are you going to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus? And then he was like, I'd love to meet with the Congressional Black Caucus. You want to set that up? Go ahead, you set that up and I'll come to it. And she's like, I'm a reporter. That's not like my crew that I hang out with or anything. And in his mind, he just saw black person, black caucus, the same, like, oh, black people know each other, right? So just go set it up with them and I'll show up. It's the mind of a child. He just makes this. So he saw like Asian American reporter, Asian, Chinese government. Go ask the Chinese government. I know you're so close with them and stuff. Oh, man. Oh, Jesus Christ. What are we going to do with this guy?
He was like, yeah, why don't you call him up and ask him for me? As if she just like had the black number, the hidden black phone number to call them up. I don't know. It's, when I saw this, I wasn't outraged. I'll be honest with you guys. I wasn't outraged. This is standard Trump fashion. It wasn't surprising at all. Was it okay? No, it's not okay. You didn't have to come at her like that. If you chose not to answer the question, if you didn't want to answer the question, you don't have to answer the question. But I just feel you were very, very rude to her. But is anyone surprised at this point when he does things like this? The other thing is, Trump, you're just giving them ammo. Because they're not going to get you on policy. The Susan everybody and the Johnny know nothings, they're not going to get you on policy. They don't know about policy. They don't care to know about policy majority of the time. And then, the media, they're not going to get you on policy either, because a lot of the people the media praise is okay with some of the policies that you do. So they're not going to get you on most policies either. These are the things they're going to get you on. They're going to get you on easy stuff like this, and they're going to hammer it for at least 3 or 4 days. So whenever you do something pig-headed or stupid like this, you're giving them easy ammo. And you'd think he'd learn by now. But maybe he just doesn't care. But, yeah, when he gets backed into a corner, he does stupid things like this. He's either going to walk away from it, or he's going to berate her and try to destroy her while he's up there. I don't know which is the better of the two. People are always talking about the lesser of two evils. Out of the two, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer him to walk away like he did, or do you prefer to battle her while he's on stage? So I just figured I'd touch on that point really quick. Oh, Trump. The other thing. So another stimulus bill. And I've been covering what the Dems have been doing with the stimulus bill and the stimulus packages up till this point already. And I think this is number 5. So it's been confirmed that the House today voted on the HEROES Act, and it's the latest stimulus relief bill that includes, among other things, a second round of $1,200 stimulus checks, $200 billion in hazard pay for essential workers, and a 6-month extension to the COVID-19 unemployment program. So finally, they're doing a little something. The hazard pay is something that I hammered on before. They needed to do hazard pay for essential workers and frontline employees. The extension of the unemployment is interesting. I got some stuff to say about that in a second. And the $1,200. So there's going to be a lot of people excited to get that $1,200, but we still haven't gotten a UBI. They still haven't voted on UBI. And I remember Nancy Pelosi, and I covered it, was talking about, maybe we need to do a UBI. She was talking about that. She was talking about it out of her ass, obviously. Kamala Harris and other people were talking about $2,000, etc. That didn't happen. So it's interesting how we ended up at the $1,200 mark again. But let's go over some of the key aspects of the HEROES Act. So $200 billion for essential workers to get hazard pay, $1 trillion for state, local, and tribal governments to help pay vital workers like first responders, healthcare workers, and teachers who would be on the verge of losing their jobs. A second stimulus check for Americans in the amount of $1,200. This would be a one-time payment, just like the first stimulus check. However, instead of $500 for children, families would get $1,200 for each household member, up to a max of $6,000. Now that's big. $175 billion in housing assistance to help renters and homeowners with rent, mortgage, and utility payments. $75 billion for coronavirus testing, tracing, and isolation efforts. An extension of the COVID-19 unemployment program, providing that the extra $600 per week benefit would last until January 2021 instead of expiring in July 2020 as it currently stands. The HEROES Act also modifies or expands the following programs and policies that can be found on congress.gov. So a lot of people have been asking, will this pass? Though not all Democrats are on board with the stimulus relief package, some argue that it goes too far, and others argue that it doesn't go far enough. It is believed that there are indeed enough votes to pass the HEROES Act today. It's also estimated that a handful of Republicans will sign on to the bill and vote yes as well, because the bill provides large sums of money for states and local governments. Some Republican representatives would be hard-pressed by their constituents if they vote against money for state and local governments in this time of crisis. If the House passes this stimulus today, it'll go to the Senate. A lot of people are saying it's going to be dead on arrival. Democrats hold a majority in the House, and Republicans have a majority in the Senate. Republicans are overwhelmingly against providing any more stimulus funds at this time. Nancy Pelosi has also indicated that the House will pass this stimulus relief package and put it forward as a starting point of negotiations with Republicans. However, even if Congress, the House, and the Senate eventually end up making something law, it will likely look different from what the House is voting on today, because both sides will surely have to narrow down their priorities, and they're going to have to fight and compromise to get anything passed through both the House and the Congress. So there's been people all over social media saying, oh, we're getting a new stimulus package. It passed today. It didn't go to the Senate yet. The Senate hasn't approved it. At least at the time of this recording, the Senate hasn't approved it yet. So it's about time that they got to move on giving people more money. I'm interested to see what the Senate is going to require in that bill and what the Democrats are going to cave to. It's going to be quite interesting. But time is of the essence. Now, let me get to the second part I was going to talk about. I think it was Mitch McConnell that said something, and he was right. I know Mitch McConnell was right, but he was wrong in why he was saying it. So let's get into this a little bit. So there was a state that opened back up, and I can't think of it right now, because I don't have it in front of me. Ill prepared, I know. And a small business opened back up. and they were a small restaurant business. And half of her employees aren't coming back. They refuse to come back because they are making more being on unemployment than they were working at that restaurant. And so now there's going to be a lot of people saying, you see, I told you, you give them this money and then they're going to want to sit on their couch and be lazy. Bunch of lazy asses. Don't even want to go and work for their money. Ugh. I told you, this is why we shouldn't have. They want to extend this unemployment stuff. Nobody's going to go back to work now. Ugh. I'll have you know that the restaurant owner agrees with the employees. She says, I don't blame them. I wouldn't come back if I was in their shoes either. Because they are making a third working here than what they are making on unemployment, and it's just not fair to them. This is the restaurant manager, the boss, the person that owns the place, is literally saying, I get it. So half her staff didn't come back so they can continue to collect unemployment because they're finally getting a small taste of what it's like to have a decent income. Now, this is out of the restaurant owner's mouth. They're making a third here than what they're making versus being on unemployment. Now, here's where some people on the flip side are going to say, well, pay them more. Like, pay them more. But she's come out and says she can't afford to pay them more. She literally can't afford to pay them more. So, let's watch what I'm going to do here. So, Bernie Sanders was right. People need a living wage. People need a living wage. We're being devalued as people. Calm down, Yang Gang. Calm down. Some of you are, I see you typing at the keyboard already. I can hear it now. Calm down. Bernie Sanders was right. We need a living wage. We need to pay people their worth. We need to pay people a decent wage. And people are finally getting a taste of that. And they're getting a taste of it by being unemployed, of all things. And kudos to Bernie Sanders for getting that $600 provision in there. So, we need to pay people a living wage. But I will concede that not everybody can afford to pay people that wage. The restaurant owner herself is saying she can't afford to do it. And I believe her because she's okay with them collecting the unemployment and getting the money. She's not even berating them for it. She's fine with it. She's understandable. So just from that evidence, I believe that she can't pay these people a higher wage than what she's been giving them. Because it shows, by her words, she's showing she's on their team. She completely understands. Right? She's not even mad at them for not coming back. So, big companies, big companies can afford to pay people a living wage. Most of them, not all of them. I'll get into that tomorrow. But the smaller ones can't. And even with the big companies, though, let's use McDonald's as an example. If an assistant manager is making $16 an hour, and then you give all the cashiers $15 an hour, now that ASM is only making $1 more than the cashier. So you're going to have to raise that assistant manager's pay up exponentially. And I don't mean by $2. I don't mean by $3. There needs to be a gap. When it comes to management, there needs to be a gap to make it worth your while because you have much more stuff on your shoulders. I'm a manager. I know. And shit rolls downhill. And does it roll downhill? So there needs to be a gap of pay between the cashiers and whatever employees versus the management, so on and so forth. Most of these companies aren't going to be able to do that. They're not going to be able to do that. So I agree with Bernie. People need to get paid more. People need to get paid a living wage. How are we going to execute that? Universal basic income. Holy shit. We figured it out. So I have no doubt in my mind, if the people that were working at this restaurant were getting UBI, they'd have gone back to work. They'd have gone back to work. There's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt. But you've put them at in a precarious position where they're like, oh, I can go back to work and get paid shit. So I'm going back to work exposing myself and putting myself in danger, against this virus for a third of the pay I'm getting now. So Mitch was right. People are going to get a taste of this. They're not going to go back to work. But it's not because they don't want to work. It's because they're getting paid shit, Mitch McConnell. It's because they're getting paid crap. Andrew Yang always talks about the human value and how we have a value to ourselves. And these people just got a small taste of it. They just got a small taste of it. To the point where the damn owner is understandable. Like, I don't even blame you. Keep collecting it. Now, if this extension goes through, then they're really not going to want to go back to work. They're really not going to want to go back to work. So, we'll see how this pans out. I keep seeing people on social media saying it passed. I'm sure it passed the House. I don't think it passed the Senate yet. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment section. But up until the time of this recording, I haven't seen it pass the Senate. I think it'll be a tug of back and forth before it passes the Senate. But time is of the essence as well. And then you have the whole scenario that they're trying to open everything back up already too. Memorial Day weekend, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Delaware all say they're opening the beaches. Why? You're literally throwing people to the virus. And then they're saying, if they don't practice social distancing, we're going to shut it down. They're not going to practice social distancing. You really think everybody at those beaches in all those states are going to practice social distancing 24/7? You think that's going to happen? Wrong. It's not going to happen. So to even put that caveat in there, like, oh, if we find out people aren't practicing social distancing, we're going to shut it down. No, you're not. Because I'm telling you now, people aren't going to be practicing social distancing. It's just not going to happen. For Memorial Day weekend, you really think they're going to be practicing social distancing? Even at the mall that opens up the 20th in Connecticut, West Farms Mall, you really think they're going to be practicing social distancing in the mall? Get over yourselves. Get over yourselves. I've been seeing Republicans say it, a lot of Republicans saying it, and I've even been seeing some people that I look up to, in a way, in this political game, saying, we're going to have to sacrifice some people to save the economy. Who the fuck are you to sacrifice anybody? That's not your call. You don't get to sacrifice. You sacrifice yourself. You don't get to tell us we have to sacrifice ourselves to help your economy. Get the fuck out of here. You sacrifice yourself. Let me see you as a frontline worker. You sacrifice yourself. You put yourself out in the elements. Don't you ever tell me to sacrifice myself so you can have more money in your pockets. So, crazy. So, Donald Trump berates reporter. Dems passed new $1,200 stimulus bill. Let's see if it goes to the Senate and what happens. And all sorts of chaos on the horizon. We'll get through it. So, if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, please like, comment, subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. If you don't, let me know in the comment section why. I'm always down to talk about it. I have a Cash App, a PayPal, and a Venmo link in the description below. Please feel free to donate to the channel. Every little bit helps. Hopefully, I'll be talking to you guys soon. Have a good one. Peace.
Locked and drank all night, acted all alright. ask me